I was surprised to see what Baltimore gave Odell Beckham Jr. when they did, because based on the timing of where we are in the offseason and the money that they would have to dish out, and by the way, the other teams that were involved, I'm thinking, well, you just wait until after the draft, and then you have the opportunity to assess where you are in the offseason. And if you need another receiver, cool. If you need a number one receiver, he's still there. But what Baltimore did not have the luxury of was what Kansas City, which I thought made the most sense for him, with Patrick Mahomes, and what the Jets, who know they're going to get Aaron Rodgers at some point. They don't necessarily know in Baltimore who their quarterback's going to be. And this is a step towards helping to ensure that that happens for Lamar Jackson. Of course, on social media, Odell Beckham Jr., he's showing the FaceTime with Lamar, and you can see the reaction from both. Tags him on his Instagram story. And while the price tag was steep, by Baltimore jumping in and giving him exactly what he was asking for, the Ravens said, hey, here's exactly what you need. We've met with you. We chatted at the owners' meetings. Let's get it done. It's an aggressive move for a team that wants their former MVP quarterback to return. They're still in conversations with Lamar Jackson. But here's the other thing to factor in. Another aggressive move would be to trade Lamar Jackson to move up and draft your future quarterback. And
that is a possibility I thought about.
And knowing that you have the luxury of an offensive coordinator there now that coached him in Cleveland with the Browns. And I'm speaking of Odell Beckham Jr. And knowing that when healthy, he is very productive, especially in impactful moments of games, playoff games. Chad, I still believe Baltimore doesn't necessarily know what Lamar's going to do, but they have given them the ability now to a number one receiver they've traded away when Jackson was there full time. And if he returns, they've ensured that he's got the number one receiver that he's been clamoring for to open up more of the offense.
I think the scenario that to me is most likely is that Baltimore knows there's not a great market for Lamar Jackson, which I think is kind of crazy. But I think they feel that way right now, that there's teams that just aren't willing to give up what they have to give up and pay Lamar Jackson what he wants. That's out there. So they feel like they're the best bidder right now. They're the best opportunity to land him. And they're confident in doing it because two sides of this. One, Baltimore should not make this move unless they're really confident, borderline 100% sure Lamar Jackson is going to be their quarterback. The other possible caveat to that is what Hutton just mentioned, if they want to trade up and get one of these top quarterbacks in the draft. And if you're Odell Beckham Jr., you don't sign with the Ravens if Tyler Huntley's throwing you passes. I wouldn't think so. I mean, it can't just be all about the money right now for Odell Beckham Jr. He's looking at teams where he feels like he can go and be productive and win a Super Bowl. You can do that in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson as quarterback. Maybe you can win big with the right rookie quarterback also. All due respect to Tyler Huntley, this team's not winning a Super Bowl with Tyler Huntley. And that just doesn't make much sense for Odell Beckham Jr. So I believe that the Ravens feel like there's not a huge market and that they can smooth things over with Lamar Jackson, make him feel welcome again, bring him back into the fold. And when you put the carrot out there of a star veteran wide receiver like Odell Beckham Jr., suddenly that makes the position Lamar's in Baltimore look a little bit more appetizing.
Yeah, yes. Here's the other thing that's key to remember, though. It's a one-year contract. So if it hits the fan around the trade deadline and you don't have Lamar and you have a rookie and things aren't looking great, you can trade him to a playoff contender knowing that the contract's going to expire at the end of the year anyway.
As a mercenary type
deal. You get something for him, Odell, I'm saying, and he goes to a playoff contender and still has the chance to put up numbers and play for a contender and then potentially sign an extension, which was what he was going to try to do in L.A. and then towards ACL in the Super Bowl, but not before he made an impact in that game. I think it's a very smart move, despite my ignorance on the timing of it, because the Chiefs have the luxury of waiting. The Jets were supposed to meet with him today, but they can also wait if they had to. I mean, they've added enough pieces and they have enough young talent around Aaron Rodgers to be just fine. And I do believe Rodgers is going there. They do too. And Baltimore has no assurance based on how things have gone in this whole offseason of Lamar Jackson saga and the fact that, doesn't have an agent, so they're relying on him to pick up the phone, but he's telling fans on social, hey, sorry, but got a bolt. I want to get paid. I think Baltimore made the right move because they've thrown the carrot out there, but even if he doesn't come back, they have a veteran wideout around a potential. If he doesn't come back, they're moving up high in the draft, right? Well, I'm thinking more of along the lines of like a Indianapolis.
But
right?
Meanwhile, the money that Lamar Jackson wants went to a guy who's about to be deposed by a 25th woman.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part about all this with the new story with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, he's set to give a deposition this week in a sexual misconduct lawsuit where he will do that. Let's see, it'll be the 25th sexual misconduct lawsuit filed against him.
He settled with 24
with
women.
the other massage therapists. And my guess is he goes into this and answers everything the exact same way. He's already served his suspension of 11 games, came back after that. And in this lawsuit, Watson's alleged to have attempted solicit sex acts, including intercourse with the plaintiff, and this all goes back to 2020, massage therapist. But this is the same storyline that we've heard. It's just coming from Universal Law Group instead of what we saw down in Texas.
I'm willing to bet not much comes from this. It is interesting, the one piece of it where he is being, I guess, commanded to bring his phone and text information from his phone in this part of the deposition. I don't know necessarily what that means or if there's any new info that comes out of it. But my guess is we probably find out about what we did with everything else, which is not a lot. And it is interesting that this is the one woman plaintiff that has not settled at this point, where this is still going forward.
Well, and this one came forward October of last year, I believe, on top of what was already about to be settled. Had already been settled going into the season where he already had the suspension and he was serving that.
And until he's deposed, there's still a chance the thing does settle.
Sure, and it could settle after that too.
Yeah.
With the civil case there. Also, you've got Joe Douglas saying that, hey, Aaron Rodgers is going to be here. I'm certain of this. Are you?
Me too. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a matter of...
And for him to say it, he knows it's just little detail here or there that they have to clean up with the Packers to make it happen.
Even though I am sure that it's not easy when your quarterback isn't necessarily on your active roster currently, your offseason roster, and you're making moves around things. But the one team that's been given permission to work all this out are the Jets. Rodgers' camp has got to be telling them, hey, here's what we need. They've done that. They met with them. He claims that they just brought guys up and said, hey, what do you think about this guy or this guy? And, of course, he's glowing about his teammates in Green Bay, but there's no coincidence they go out and bring those guys in like Allen Lazard.
If there's some gulf between the two teams, then Douglas isn't saying this, even if it is at a fan event. They're very, very close to the point of it's just a matter of time. Douglas knows it. Gutekunst and the Packers know it.
Yeah.
It's going to get done. My guess is it gets done before the draft, and everyone gets what they want in the end. Maybe the Packers don't get everything they want from the Jets in this deal, but the Jets get their quarterback where they can make a run, and the Packers get rid of Aaron Rodgers, which, let's face it, they want to get rid of the headache. He would not return their text or calls before he went to the isolation retreat. They want to be done with the back and forth, and now Aaron Rodgers gets a new lease on life in Jersey with a Jets team that's set up from a roster standpoint to make a run at a Super Bowl based on the young talent on that team. So I'm here for the drama and the change of scenery for Rodgers, I think it's going to be an exciting season with him and the Jets.